Hello, this is Nancy Reynolds. I am so glad you could join us for our online retreat, Cards with Creativity. And I just want to get started. I'm using the Rain or Shine Suite. Here it is from the mini catalog. These are so cute. And the designer series paper is super cool. Matter of fact, I've almost gone through a whole pack of designer series paper, so I'm not going to show you all my cut up little bits and pieces. I'm going to show you from the catalog. So there we are. The first one on top with the flowers in the sky, I pretty much have used all of that up from the first pack I purchased and most of it from the second pack of paper that I've gotten because this has been so much fun. So let me show you what the card we're making. This is my card. I don't know what the fold is called. It's sort of a spanner card because it's spanning an open space, but I'm not sure if that's really the correct name for it. But isn't that fox cute? I think of him as Mr. Dapper Fox. It opens up, got place. See, it just all holds together so beautifully. And I wanted to show you how to cut that card base, first of all. I've changed the color up a little bit. We're going to use Tahitian Tide instead of Balmy Blue. And I was not thinking. I was prepping for the live presentation and for this one at the same time, the video, and realized that I shouldn't have scored and cut this one until we were on camera. But forgive me, it's 4¼ inches by 11 inches. I cut it at 4¼ by 7 inches. And then I put this piece at 5½ inches, which is our normal card front size. And that's what will fit in our envelopes. And I scored. So there we are. There's the score line. Now, this bottom part that we've cut off is very important because it's going to be the rest of our card. Making sure, if you'll notice, this doesn't match up this way. It has to be the way you cut it off. So it's like a little puzzle. This is the piece I cut off. I need this piece down here. So I'm going to take and put that in my trimmer and cut that at, well, it doesn't matter which side it comes off of, 1½ inches. And there we go. I'm going to set the trimmer aside. And look how cool that is. So we have 1½ inches here. We have 1½ inches here. And this piece that's left over is going to hold them together. Isn't that cool? Now I have done, in the PDF, you'll find both the metric and the imperial measurements. I'm going to work with imperial measurements today. But I wanted to talk about the metric because it was not the right size when I was working on them. So let's go and talk about the metric sizes. I made a template. So here is 10½ by 19 centimeters. Scored, and I scored it from this side, 4.1. I cut off that bottom piece. It's 4.1 by 10.5 centimeters. Layer 2 is, and we're going to do basic white, but it's 10.2 by 3.8, and so I have 2 of those. Nope, not that one. Here it is, right there. I was using some paper that I had extra. So 10.2 by 3.8, and then the designer series paper is going on top of that white, and it's 9.9 by 3.5. And here's, oh, I can't pick it up. 9.9 by 3.5. And then our center is, let's see, 5.5 by 10.5. So remember that's the part that went right in here. I cut this down. That just seemed to be too much space to cover up. So I cut this down to 5.5 by 10.5. And then we have our white at 5.2 by 10.2. And then the DSP for the top. So our look is very similar considering the different cardstocks. And I just wanted to let you know that I made that little change while I was working with it because partly I did not like that much being covered up. So maybe that's personal preference. But that is why those measurements are just a little bit different. So let's go back. We'll set metric aside and go back to Imperial. We have our card base, our little spanner layers, and our bottom. So let's start putting these together. Because you know me, the less pieces of paper I have sitting around and the less little bits and pieces, the better I am. So let's just use, well, I've got all my bits and pieces for the cards and I didn't bring over any of my supplies. I should get points for that. So I'm going to put our white onto the top. Do it this way. And I left a very narrow margin on purpose. What do you think about that Tranquil Tide color? I really like it. I liked the balmy blue of my first card that I made, but I really think the Tranquil Tide pops. Okay, there we go. So our white pieces are on. Our Designer Series paper is from the 2022-2024 in color 6x6 DSP. And I was keeping with the little dots. Kind of seemed rain appropriate to me. Or rainy day appropriate. So here we are. We're putting our Designer Series paper on. And oh, remember with your seal, and obviously I had forgotten, that you want it to break right here at the top. And to do that, you just end vertically and pull it up. Okay. The other piece we can do right now is to take our card and I'll carefully line this up because this is the bottom of your card. This is what's going to make it able to stand up. Oh, I think maybe I'll put these pieces together first. I've got the little Rain Designer Series paper. And we'll put on our Basic White on the Tahitian Tide, little center. And our little section of Rain. And again, I just went down 1/8 of an inch. So this center section actually works out to be 2 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I just stood it on its end. The white then is 2 3/8 by 4 1/8, and my rain DSP is 2 1/4 by 4. Okay, let's just take this, line it up, and I'm going to put some seal on the very top and the bottom. I hope I didn't go over too much. And put this down. The one, I also like these little dots. These don't line up quite as well as the other ones did. But I was able to make a nice straight line by looking at the dots. How does that look? Pretty good. You could also use your Tombow liquid glue because that'll give you a little wiggle room. There's the inside. I was careful enough that we don't have any DSP going all crazy, or any adhesive rather going all crazy. So there's our card base. The hard work is done. The fun work's to come. Now I have my little, I like to color on something on a mat. So we're going to do a little bit of coloring. I have with me, this is Flirty Flamingo. I have the light and the dark. I have Tahitian Tide, light and dark. And these are our blends, our alcohol markers. So I stamped this. And normally I don't stamp and cut out first. I like to color before I cut them out in case I make a mistake. But I thought on camera it would be easier to do it this way. That's a little busy. I was playing around designing a new card last night with this set. I love this set. This is number 700. It is, I believe that is the, the medium light set of blends in the skin tones. I have Granny Apple Green. Yes, I do have Granny Apple Green, light and dark, although I'm not going to use both of them. And I have Cajun Craze, light and dark, and I'm not going to use both of those. So there we are. Let's start with the flower. I'm going to use the dark Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to do some very basic coloring with this. I am just going to do the leaves. And you always want to have something that's porous underneath it because it can go through the color. I guess I'm doing it very light, so it may not go through. I'm going to take Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to use the dark Flirty Flamingo. And because these are small spaces, I'm using my small end. You can tell the ends by the size. The writing or bullet end has a little line, and the brush end, or the larger end, has a large line. And so we'll just color in those flowers. And I'm going to do the center of my flowers with a dark Cajun Craze. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time, there is going to be Wink of Stella on these flowers because I think every flower deserves to be sparkly. You, of course, if you were making it and you didn't think it needed to be sparkly, would not need to use the Wink of Stella. I just couldn't control myself. Here's our center with the dark Cajun Craze. And the alcohol markers do dry quite quickly. So I'm just going to come right in with my Wink of Stella and brush a little sparkle onto the flowers. Because they deserve it. Sparkles make me happy. Wink of Stella makes me happy. Flowers make me happy. There we are. Let's see if it makes you happy. I don't know. Can you see Just wonder if you can see the sparkle. I don't think so. I can't see it on my screen. So we'll set that aside and we'll start on Mr. Dapper Fox. I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the number 700. And that is just going to be what his tail is. I really do like these colors that we have now, but I have trouble remembering which colors numbers go in each set. And I'm going to flick some on his face. Now, he is colored with Cajun Craze for his body. I am going to start with, it's a little bit bigger area, so I'm going to use the brush, and I'm starting with my light Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to do the whole tail. I'm going to get some of this nice alcohol onto it. I find it hard to talk when I'm coloring, so I'm going to apologize if I get a little quiet. Okay. Now I'm coming in with the darker, and I'm going to use the bullet end. And I'm just going to add a little where there might be shadows. Like there might be a shadow right here under where the coat is. There might even be one here. I'll do something a little bit more along the tail line here. And then I'm going to go over it with the light again and blend those in. You might not be able to tell right now, but once this dries, there'll be more shading and not a lot of definition. I made one little spot, then I went out of the lines. And so I'm going to grab my color lifter, which is what this clear alcohol is. It doesn't really lift the color. It pushes it through to the other side. And you can do that 2 or 3 times, but let it dry in between. For his body, I am just going to do a little bit for his legs here of the light Cajun Craze. You can shade a little bit on the legs if you want to, but I think this works just fine. And then his little hands, paws. Mr. Dapper Fox has paws. And I'm going to do his ears. And for his ears, I'm putting just a little bit of shading in with the darker. Not a lot. And I will come back in and blend that out. That leaves us his face, and I want to do the light. So I am doing light, dark, light. So I'm going to take this in and do the rest of his face. Maybe flicking a little bit so that it doesn't look like such an abrupt line. Coming in with the dark and my bullet end, and I would think under the hat there might be a shadow. And then the marks that the artist put in. And maybe a little extra here and there. Just for fun. So I'm just going to work that out, give it a little more light. So we get some shading. I think I'm going to be happy with his cute face. Now, isn't he cute? Let's do the umbrella. And I see that I put a little Wink of Stella on the umbrella also. So let's start with the light. We'll take, oh, that's quite a large space, so I think I'm going to use the brush end. We'll just put this on. So we have a little of the alcohol marker to start with. And then come back with the dark. And I think I'm going to put my shading where the marks are, but on the right side. There we are. Couldn't hurt to have a little bit right there. Maybe across the top. There. And then finishing it up, back to the light, and just work that in. So that as it dries, the shading, it's shaded, not lines. And if you find that it's not really done quite enough, go over it a second time or a third time. And now, I think his hat and raincoat, because he's so put together, his hat and raincoat need to be the same color. I, on the other hand, would probably, no, I know, I have a black raincoat and a black hat. So exciting, I tell you. He's got way more style than I have. So there he is with his little cap. Let's give that little cap some definition. Probably a little shadow under the ears. And take our Tahitian Tide and color that in. Again, I've got to say, I really like Tahitian Tide. Oh, I've already got my light one. Let's do his rain jacket. I don't know, when I look at this as compared to the Balmy Blue, it just seems to have a brightness to it. This is a color I will be sorry to see go in a year. Okay, a little shading under here where he might have a shadow. Maybe under his arms there's a shadow. Look, buttons. Just do a little line down here. Kind of outline him. And then we come back. With our light Tahitian Tide. And the light Tahitian Tide gets darker with however many coats you put on. It gets just a little bit darker. There we are. And as long as I'm thinking about it, let's give that umbrella some sparkle. There we are. We've got our flowers. We've got our cute little guy, Mr. Dapper Fox. And we need a sentiment. So I am using Memento and a cute little sentiment from the set. Did I show you the set? I did not. What was I thinking? Here is the set, Playing in the Rain. The stamp set and dies both have the same name. And the turtle is cute. Mr. Dapper Fox, the happy bunny. It's just all works together. It's lovely. In my case, I always keep the little cuts that I've made. We've got some designer series paper that you can cut the animals out of. And when we get to the bunny, I'll show you something special about what they've done with the finish. The dies and the stamps. Now, back to stamping. This is, I believe, the only thing I stamped on this card is the sentiment. And this is just a piece of scrap. Just want to check that one. I re-inked one of mine last night. It was not this one. And I'm going to stamp it over towards the left. Let's see. Yep, you can see what I'm doing. So put that down. A little pressure, give it a moment to transfer the ink. And there we have one of my favorite sayings, rainy days are better with you. Isn't that nice? Then I took my scissors and I just snipped off an angle. Not even too concerned about just making sure I didn't cut off the words. So we have our fox, our sentiment, and our flowers. So we're ready to finish off the front. We still have the inside and the envelope to do. Let's move these out of the way. And I need to bring over some dimensionals because I do believe our fox deserves to be popped up. And this is what I was telling you, to have some paper underneath in case it bleeds, because you're putting quite a bit of color and the alcohol on here. And so the idea is to saturate the paper so you get good coverage. And one more. The ink will move around and blend when the paper's saturated. So we'll take this off, which is sometimes easier said than done. And then we all know that these get all over the house if you don't put them directly into a garbage can. So we'll put Mr. Fox here on the front, kind of center him up. And I just attached this flat. Just above him. And I took that out, my white edge out to the white edge of my white paper. So there we are. This one is put on a little bit differently. It is going to be glued from the underside. So let me pull in my green glue, my Tombow multi-purpose glue. Make sure there's no little boogers on it. Nothing like a little dried glue on the front top. And I am just going to take and put a little drop on the bottoms of these flowers. And they will adhere right on. And there we are. Let's see. Hold that for a moment. You could use glue dots. You could use snail. Tombow works pretty quickly, so I was feeling pretty confident about that. Now for the inside, I did the Happy Bunny. The Happy Bunny is from a piece of our designer series paper. There are dies that will cut this bunny out. which is wonderful. So that's what I did. I ran it through. But he is playing in a puddle, and I want to keep him playing in the puddle. Oh, this is what, I don't know. Can you see that there's a shine to that? There's a UV coating on parts of the clothing, different pieces, several umbrellas, several pieces have it. The puddle here has it. And so I am just going to fussy cut the puddle he was standing in so he can continue to stand in it on the inside of the card. I felt this card needed another animal because it does say rainy days are better with you. So I thought Mr. Fox needed a friend. And he really is pretty much hidden by our front fold, fancy fold. Is it a fancy fold or is it a fancy cut? Geez, so many questions. So here we go. I've got a piece of basic white. It's just our normal 4 by 5 1/4 or 10 by 14.4 centimeters. I'm going to pull in my silicone mat. And if you don't have a silicone mat, it really is a must-have because glue does not stick to it. So when I put this on, so adhesives, glue, hot glue. If you're like me and you've accidentally put glue on something before you're ready to put it down, you can set it on like this. You can set it on the mat and then pick it up and put it on your card. So here we have the puddle he is standing in. And we'll do the same with the Happy Bunny. Just give him some adhesive with some little, and if there's any that needs to be, it's really easy just to put a fingernail in or a tool. You could use your Take Your Pick tool and just push any adhesive, outlying adhesive in towards the center on the back side. His foot fits perfectly in that puddle. Oh, look, there he is. Mr. Bunny is ready to go on the card. Our card is done. We just have the envelope. Here we are. And our envelope I just stamped on. I thought since we had this one, I stamped a bunny because the bunny was on the inside. Actually, I think I do want to do that. Hold on just a second while I see if my bunny got put away. He did get put away. Let's put him on a stamp. Let's see. And let's put the clouds on a stamp. I'm going to grab my Tahitian Tide pad, ink pad. I think I'm going to stamp the bunny in Memento. I think it's okay to do that. There he is. Just put him on the card. Now this is one of the reasons my mat was so messy, as I was playing with clouds last night. So let's play with clouds with Tahitian Tide. Yep. I kind of like to have them hang over. I'm filling the back flap up with clouds. And you'll be glad to know that I am not going to start breaking into song about clouds. Don't even remember the singer now. About clouds being life's illusion. Anyway, I am not going to sing it for you. That is a kindness on my part. So here we are. Our Spanner card project. The envelope. Our card with Mr. Dapper Fox. And Mr. Happy Bunny inside. Happy Mail. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you'll join us, though, for the live Zoom, because that's going to be fun when we can chat together. Until I talk to you later, happy crafting.